Welcome to class students. Today we'll be looking at forms of communication, verbal and non-verbal. The communication process can take any forms, the verbal and non-verbal forms. Both forms usually operate together in the majority of messages you send and receive. Spoken or oral and written are both forms of verbal communication, while non-verbal consists of visual and audio-visual. For example, for verbal communication, we have and the oral, the spoken or oral and written forms of communication, while the non-verbal, we have the visual and the audio-visual forms of communication. We have different types of communication, as we can see: the verbal communication, the non-verbal communication. The verbal is one of the most basic form of communication. It involves using spoken or written languages to convey messages between individuals. While non-verbal is a powerful type of communication skill that we often overlook in our daily interaction. It includes everything from facial expression to body language to gestures and even our clothes. Some of us okay that are Nigerians or Africans. Our parents sometimes when we have visitors in the home, our parents do talk with us or talk to us with body languages or facial expression. We also have written communication. As the name suggests, written communication involves conveying information through written words, whether it's an email, a text message, or a letter. Written communication helps individuals to express their thoughts and ideas clearly and precisely. While the visual communication, incorporates the use of images, shapes, and colors and other visual elements to convey information or messages. We also have the feedback. Feedback communication is an essential aspect of effective communication. It helps in both personal and professional settings. We have the mass communication. Mass communication is a powerful tool that connects millions across the globe. We have the group communication. It refers to exchange of information and ideas among three or more individuals. It involves sharing thoughts, opinions, and feedbacks within a team or organization. Effective group communication fosters collaboration, problem solving, and decision making. We look at the forms of communication. We have the oral, the written, and the non-verbal. In the oral, we have in terms of presentation, audience awareness, critical listening, and body language. In the written communication, we have the academic writing, revision and editing, critical reading, presentation of data. We have the non-verbal, which involve audience awareness, personal presentation, and body language. The verbal communication. Examples are oral, written, visual, and audio-visual. Types of verbal communication. We have the face-to-face communication. Involves the speaker and the listener interacting face to face in a small group or public speaking. The telephone conversation involves two people interacting by use of telephone, though it is possible for a small group by means of teleconferencing. We have the radio makes it possible to speak to a large number of people at the same time. We have the written communication involves use of written forms of communication such as letters, memos, reports, and circulars. So in verbal communication, we've seen face-to-face communication, telephone conversation, the radio, and the written communication. The spoken and written communication. Oral communication is more natural and immediate. You speak to communicate in natural and informal situations. We also speak in formal and official situations such as making a presentation, taking an interview when the target audience is present, or doing a seminar presentation is also a form of the spoken communication. Written communication has to be used when other persons is not present and is not available on the telephone. Long and complex messages are best conveyed in writing. We're going to be looking at the features or attributes of spoken or written communication. We're going to be looking at it in terms of speed, record, precision, and accuracy. The speed. Written communication is slower in preparation, in conveyance and reception. It takes more time to draft, type, dispatch, and to receive and read a letter than it takes to speak and to hear, to listen, and to understand an oral message. In terms of record, written communication serve as a record and can be used for future references. Unlike the spoken communication, it is a documentary proof that can be used as a legal evidence. In terms of precision and accuracy, written communication is more precise and accurate than oral communication. Choice of precise word is possible in written communication because the writer has the time to look for suitable words and phrases and to revise the draft if necessary. Accuracy is necessary in written communication because the receiver is not present to ask for clarification. Unlike oral communication, it is not always possible to be so precise in the choice of words. There is also no time to seek and consider words while speaking. However, the receiver can seek clarification on the spot in spoken communication. In terms of length, a written communication message is usually shorter than oral communication. Oral communication requires some preliminary and closing remarks, while for written messages there are standard formats for opening and closing which can keep the message short. In terms of expense, written communication requires stationery, preparations, and transmission, all of which cost money. Oral communication can also cost a great deal since it requires simultaneous presence and at ten tion of the two parties, and getting together costs money. Cost will depend on the availability of the required person at a particular place. Or in body language, oral communication is supported by the speaker body language and paralanguage. The speaker can control the style of delivery, giving meaning to words and sentences by voice inflection and facial expression and gesture. Written communication is separated from the writer's bodily presence and is more in control of the reader. The reader can give to the words the sound, inflection and stress as he chooses, and this may be affected by the reader's mood and the state of mind at the time of reading. In terms of feedback, oral communication allows immediate feedback. The listener's face gives some feedback and the speaker can modify the message on the spot. Clarification can be sought and given at once. In written communication, the feedback is delayed and the reader's facial expression cannot be seen by the writer. The reader's response is known to the writer only when the readers reply. In terms of formality, spoken language tends to be less formal than written language. When a language is spoken, there are abbreviations and dropping of some sounds as in can't, won't, don't, I'll, will. The vocabulary used in written English is also more formal than in spoken language. Importance of verbal communication. In terms of speed, oral communication is fast with immediate feedback, while in terms of record, written communication serve as a record and can be used for future references. In terms of precision and accuracy, written communication is precise and accurate. Choice of precise words is possible in written communication because the writer has the time to look for stable words and phrases and to revise the draft if necessary. Terms of length, a written message is usually shorter than an oral communication. There is a standard format for opening and closing which can keep the message short. Types of body language. Oral communication is supported by speakers' body language and paralanguage, which enrich meaning. Types of feedback. Oral communication allows immediate feedback. The listener's face gives some feedback and the speaker can modify the message as possible. Clarification can be sought and given at once. Non-verbal communication is all communication that is not spoken or written. Non-verbal communication has a great impact and influence on the receiver's decoding or interpretation of any message. Types of non-verbal communication. We have the body movement, the posture, the gesture, the facial expression, the eye contact. The body movement, which can also be referred to as body language. The study of body movement is known as kinetics, and it deals with all the ways people use their body to communicate or enhance their verbal communication. Body movement includes posture, gesture, facial expression, and eye contact. Posture, the way you position and move your body can communicate a great deal about you. For example, leaning towards or leaning away from someone in conversation can convey your degree of interest, attentiveness, or involvement. Turning your back or standing to leave can convey a lack of interest or signal the person to the conversation. In terms of gesture, gestures are any movement of the hands, fingers, or arm. Open arm can signify honesty and openness. Facial expression are the arrangement of facial muscles to communicate messages. They include mouth, cheeks, eyelid, eyebrows, forehead, nose and chin. The face is probably the most observed part of the body when we communicate with others, and this is not without reason. Our face usually communicates our internal emotional experience. Eye contact, as a type of non-verbal communication, can also communicate several different types of messages. Direct eye contact in our culture can communicate involvement, intimidation, and intimacy. We also have the paralanguage. Paralanguage is how we speak. It includes speech, volume, rate, and quality. It refers to highness or lowness of our voice. The pitch of our voice is primarily determined by the physical length and thickness of our vocal cords, but it can rise if we are threatened, anxious, or excited, and it can lower if we are attempting to sound more powerful or authoritative. Volume. Volume refers to relative softness or loudness of our voice. We often speak in characteristic volume. Some individuals talks loudly, whereas others talk in almost a whisper. We can also adjust our volume to meet the requirements of the communication setting we are in. Rate is how fast or slow we speak. People tend to have their own personal rate of speech. Some speak fast, others speak slow. We tend to increase our rate of speech when we are excited, frightened, or nervous, and we tend to decrease our rate of speech when we are uncertain, thoughtful, and sad. Quality refers to the overall sound of our voice. Each human voice has a distinctive tone. The quality of our voice may be characterized as soothing, harsh, strident, or calm. While personal presentation, as a type of non-verbal communication, our clothing is one of the most obvious and public display of who we are and what we want to communicate to others. The primary consideration is popularity, attractiveness and status. We can create a variety of public images simply by the clothing we wear. Our grooming can also reflect and communicate message to the world. The length and style of our hair, bathing routine, makeup, cologne and perfume, finger and toenail painting and many other grooming habits communicate a great deal about who we are and how we want to be perceived. Touching is the most intimate form of non-verbal communication behavior. Touching behavior, or haptics as it is called by social scientists, includes all behavior that involves the skin. Primarily, touching behavior deals with our hands and how we use them to communicate. Proxemics. The science of personal space anthropologist Edward Hall introduced the concept of proxemics in his book The Hidden Dimension, defining it as the study of how humans use and interpret physical space in communication. The research revealed four distinct spatial zones that people maintain in different social contexts. We have the intimate zone, which is 0 to 18 inches space. This closest zone is reserved for our most intimate relationship and activity, including intimate conversation, physical affection such as hugging and kissing, close emotional connection. When strangers enter this space, we instinctively create distance to maintain comfort. Another form is the personal zone, which is within 18 inches to 4 feet space. This is our typical conversational distance for family members, close friends and familiar acquaintance. We have the social zone, which is between 4 to 12 feet. This distance is maintained for professional and formal interaction such as business transaction, committee meetings, service interaction. We have the public zone, which is between 12 to 25 feet. The maximum zone is used for public speaking, formal presentation, large group gatherings. The size of this zone can vary based on cultural background, individual comfort, contents and emotional states. Sign language communication. Sign language is a sophisticated form of non-verbal communication primarily used within the deaf community, while the Braille is a tactile written system for the visually impaired, while the sign language is a visual communication system for the deaf and hard of hearing. It encompasses several distinct systems: the finger spelling. Individual letters are represented through specific hand position, while the signing exact language, that is C, a system that follows English grammar and structure, while the Kenyan Sign Language (KSL), a specific sign language system used in Kenya. Importance of non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication methods have almost instant effect because of the quicker grasp by the receiver. Speed in conveyance and response makes non-verbal method extremely useful in critical situations like traffic signs and signals. Visual non-verbal method aid verbal communication. Maps, charts and graphs are also necessary for conveying information or plans related to geography, location, data and most of the sciences. A large amount of complex data can be presented in a compact form. One page can convey the information that would need several pages of words. It makes information available conveniently and at a glance for comparisons. Response to visual and plain sound is also more powerful than to language. A cry of agony arouses stronger response than a sad story. A film is more effective than a written story. TV news is more interesting than on radio. It is the best method to convey information to illiterate people. Non-verbal communication can overcome the barrier of language. Sign language helps the hearing impaired to communicate, learn and be able to work like any other physically normal persons. Functions of non-verbal communication. Message reinforcement or complementation of verbal messages. For example, a warm welcome or a firm handshake. We also have negation of verbal message. We also have message substitution using non-verbal without verbal communication such as pointing. We have message accentuation or intensification, smiling as you say it is nice to meet you. We also have message regulation, lowering the voice to mark the end of a tone or eye contact to nominate the next speaker. Audio visual communication aids. It combines both sight and sound elements, representing one of the most modern forms of communication. This medium is particularly effective for mass communication, for mass education, product demonstration, corporate training, marketing and publicity, and public communication. Importance of audio visual and audio visual communication aids. For information management, which enables recording and archiving for future archiving for future reference. It enhance information processing through computers and internet. We have through learning and retention. Better memory retention due to multi-sensory engagement is particularly effective for educational purpose. It enhances understanding through visual demonstration. We have social and business impact. It facilitated social networking such as the Facebook, the Twitter and the WhatsApp. It results in rapid feedback mechanism. It improve business communication and training. The weakness of virtual and audio virtual. We have the technical barriers such as high initial investments and operating costs, network reliability issues. It requires technical literacy and operating knowledge. Another barrier is social implication, that is reduction in face-to-face interaction, over-reliance in digital communication, privacy and security concerns. We have the communication drawback. We also have the time consuming content creation, photographs and charts, access limitation due to literacy or technical knowledge. We have the security concerns due to vulnerability to cybercrime, risks of unauthorized access to sensitive content access control challenges. We also have the recipients barriers to audiovisual and audio-visual communication. The recipient must have communication gadgets with compatible features as the sender to be able to receive the message. The initial cost of buying and installing such communication devices and the operating cost is generally high for most people. Those are the barriers. Network and airwave failure may hinder communication process over the telephone, the internet, the radio and television. Literacy may hinder the use of communication gadgets since it need a good operating knowledge such as the use of computer. We also have language barrier. Most media broadcast in official language which many people may not understand. We have lack of electric power may hinder the use of electronic communication gadgets such as computers, projectors, slide projectors and television. We have breakdown of communication gadgets, computers, cameras, slide projectors, video and radio gadgets may break down when they are needed for use. These are the barriers to audio, visual, and audio visual communication. Ways to overcoming the barriers to visual and audio-visual communication. In business organization, the management should always ensure the audio-visual and audio-visual channels are always working properly. The management should always ensure that networks and airwaves receptions are adequate for proper communication, and they should always ensure that there is electricity or battery power and a proper backup before beginning to use audio-visual and audio-visual communication gadgets. Your choice of medium should be dictated by the literacy level, physical location, and technological capacity of the receiver. The choice of language should always depend on the linguistic knowledge and competence of your receiver. Mass media should broadcast in a variety of languages. The availability of channel broadcasting in local language ensures this. It ensures that mass media should not only focus on the official language. There should be variety of languages to ensure proper communication. Thank you for listening.